experiences and how they got there. And
How long have you been with them?
well, I founded it. I founded the Jackson Center 8 years ago.
Okay.
And since that time, I went around and tried to interview all of the surviving prosecutors. Many of them have passed away since then.
Yeah.
And to anybody who was, frankly, on Drexel Sprecker's mailing list.
Oh, Drex Spreckle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sprecher.
Sprecher, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know him? You've known him, I mean, you'd be from his...
During the war, I falsified my age and my identity because I borrowed a cousin's card of some kind. I became known as Betty Griffiths rather than Doreen. And I volunteered at the Officers Club in downtown Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hundreds of guys went through and we played pool with them and we danced with them and we did whatever they wanted to do,
Right.
which was a very interesting experience for me. I'm in Nuremberg, sitting in the Grand Hotel, and I guess you've been there and you know the Grand Hotel,
Yeah.
not the way I knew it, but this officer walks through the lobby and gee, he looks familiar. And it was Drex Sprecher. And I walked up to him and I said, were you ever in Detroit? Yeah. Well, I said, did you ever go to the Officers Club? Yeah. And I said, well, small world.
No kidding.
Yeah. Coincidence.
Yeah. Now, did you stay in touch with him while he was there?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. We became very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think his cousin, some member of his family, was married to Count Faber of the pencil Fabers.
Mm-hmm.
They had to move out of their city home to the country,
Okay.
their country house, which was lovely. And they had several children, boys as I remember. And we used to go out for weekends.
Okay.
And Drex would tickle trout.
Tickle trout.
Have you ever heard of
No.
tickling trout? My job was on the banks, carry a bucket of water, and he'd toss the trout out to me, and I'd put them in the bucket. And
So, you did know Drexel. Now, did Drexel hang around with any of the other attorneys, do you recall? Any?
I don't know that. No.
But Drexel was part of your world there.
Yeah, for a while. I
Yeah.
mean, it was an off and on sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nothing romantic,
Yeah.
very platonic.
Yeah.
The kids were demons. I went to bed one night and I realized that my sheet had been short-sheeted. And I went to stretch out and I thought, uh-oh, there's something there. And I could hear it out in the hall. And I thought, okay, I'll play along with this thing, you know.
Yeah.
It was a hedgehog.
Oh, my word.
And the poor little thing was more frightened than I was of the whole experience. And these brats are out in the hallway just laughing up a storm, you know. So I played a prima donna. And
These were kids or, okay. Was there a lot of security where you were staying? I mean, just getting in and out of the place?
where I lived,
Yeah, in Nuremberg.
no. My roommate and I lived in a house with other girls at, do you speak German? Sieben and Wimsig, 57, Bülowstrasse. And a bus,
And where was that? In Nuremberg?
sort of the outskirts.
Firth? Was it in Firth? No?
No, I don't think so. No, I think it was still the city
Okay.
limits. A bus would come and pick us up in the morning, take us to the Grand Hotel for breakfast, and then another bus, shuttle bus, would take us to the Palace of Justice. I guess we had lunch there, and then we'd do the same in reverse, come back and have dinner.
Mhm.
at the Grand Hotel.
How was the food?
Good, passable. It was all right. There was this darling maitre d' who was about as tall as we were when we were sitting down, and he was standing up. And he was a lovely gentleman. Very, very nice.
What was the condition of the Grand Hotel at the time? I've always heard that it was just passable itself. You know?
We stayed there the first night we arrived in town. We stayed at the Grand, and we had to walk over planks because the building had been bombed.
Right.
Parts of it were reconstructed, parts weren't, and we had to walk over to planks to get to our room. And we could look down and see the lobby.
Oh gosh. Now, was there a women's section and a male section, or?
Well, in my particular group, there were 13 females. I don't know about the men.
Yeah. When, probably should back up a little bit. How'd you get to Nuremberg? How does one get from Detroit, Michigan to Nuremberg, Germany?
I never went to college, graduated from high school, typing course, got a job immediately. Oh, it's so nice to see some boat traffic out there.
This is gorgeous.
This-
This is really gorgeous.
Spring, that's Belle Isle, you know.
Yes, I've been over there.
Okay. I took a civil service exam. I saw an ad in the paper saying overseas assignments. I figured a boy or man could get on a ship and work his way around the world. In those days, a female couldn't. So I applied, took the civil service exam, passed it. Probably was investigated by the FBI or whoever, and got orders to Frankfurt for assignment. And there were 13 names on this order. And we all ended up in Nuremberg.
All in the same division? Or did you get dispersed?
No, I think we were in different places. For my roommate Betty Patterson worked for Telford Taylor in prosecution.
Right?
And I frankly don't remember what the other gals did.
When they told you that you were being assigned to something called the defense group, did they give you any idea what you would be doing there?
No, I don't think so. Now remember, this is more than 60 years ago, so
You hide this very well, by the way.
my memory might not be quite as accurate as it should be.
Yeah. What did they describe your job to be, and for whom?
To be succinct, as the defendants came up, their portion of the trials, and I'm not talking about Goring or Hess or any of the big boys, these men would come up on trial or appear as witnesses. And we had to, if they had already been to trial and were cleared, living freely, we had to find accommodations for them for their dates, their dates of appearance. If they had been convicted of something and were jailed, we had to find room in the jail for them. A lot of it was documents. They would request, the defense counsel would request documents, and we had to locate them in the American, Russian, French, or English zones, and made sure that they were transported and that they got into the proper hands.
Did you have, for example, if the attorney for let's just say Ribbentrop needed something, needed a witness, needed to track down,
He-
he would come to you guys
Yeah, yeah,
and make a request,
yes,
and then your job was to try to fulfill it.
yes.
Oh, interesting.
In a time frame,
Right.
yeah. And of course, then there are things like, I need more gasoline.
Mhm.
You know, I need my ration increased. All sorts of little odds and ends like that.
Who was your boss?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Where were you located in the Palace of Justice? Was it segregated area?
I don't think so.
So you were with the other separate, other offices, but just happened to be one of them.
Yes, yeah.
So your interfacing really was with the defense counsel and the defense team.
Now, all I was doing was just typing.
Right.
You know, I had no personal contact with them.
As the typist, what did they have you do? Was it transcriptions? Were you taking stuff?
Just typing. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. Did you find that, was there a lot of talk among your staff people about what was going on in Nuremberg, the trial itself?
I was in the courtroom twice.
Right.
To be completely frank, it was a bore. They said it was very boring to go day by day by day, you know, that there was so much repetition, and I suppose maybe because of the translation.
Mhm.
But I finally thought, this is coming to an end, and I'd better get in there just to say that I had been there.
Sure.
So I have a photograph
Really?
of, you've seen the layout,
Yeah.
and there's a table. I don't know whether it was Americans or, you know, who it was assigned to, but I was sitting there, and the photograph shows the back of my head.
So you have proof positive you were there.
I was there, yes. And I think I went in twice.
Yeah. Aside from the boredom, when you walk in and you finally see in person Gehring
It's
and
kind of
yeah, what did it mean?
people you'd read about and heard about, and
Was there some chemistry? Did you feel some?
not fear, but awe maybe, because I was there, seeing them in person.
Was your expectation changed? Did you think that maybe they just look like normal beings rather than these? When they're in their military uniform, everybody looks a little bit bigger than normal.
Yeah.
Any impression like that?
Generally speaking, I found so many people said to me when I came back, "Didn't you just hate the German people?" And I said, "No, those I came in contact with, as you said, normal human beings."
Mm-hmm.
Now those war criminals, naturally, they were different.
Right. Friend Betty worked for Telford Taylor. Did you have any chance to meet him?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
through her, I was fortunate to be invited to many receptions and parties, and now I don't know who arranged that, but we actually, once we flew to Paris. Now, whether that was the same trip or a separate trip, we were down on the Riviera.
Wow. Great.
Yeah. John Ansbacher, have you come
Heard that name? Yeah.
He was a newspaper man, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the trip, and Dodd,
Tom Dodd.
Tom Dodd,
Mhm.
was on the trip. Can't remember who else.
Does the name Whitney Harris mean anything?
No,
He and Dodd were sort of.
I don't think so. No.
These were social trips
Yes.
to get away from it all?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, what fun.
And Betty and I made one wonderful train trip down to Rome, stopping in Switzerland. I have a pair of figurines I acquired for a carton of cigarettes
That's neat.
in Switzerland.
Yeah. You would have never had a chance to travel anywhere like that, would
No,
you?
no.
How did that work? Did they give you a pass and money? Did you use your own money? Is there any special perk that the military gave you other than money?
You mean day to day?
Well, just thinking about going on trips and stuff. Did they give you train passes, or did you just have to buy them and when you had time off and go?
Yeah, we just arranged vacation, if you would.
What was the normal work week? Was it Monday to Friday?
Yes, yes. 9 to 5.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of socializing going on? Was it fun to be a
Oh, yeah.
single and 21 and
Oh, yeah. The Marble Room?
Marble?
Is that still there?
It is.
Okay. Well, that was our after-hours meeting place. I became engaged.
Okay. Was it a military guy or a
Yeah,
Nuremberg guy?
yeah.
Military guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who had been a student at Purdue,
Okay.
and when we came back to the States, he went back to Purdue. I'm like an idiot sitting home twiddling my thumbs, being a good little girl, and he's dating all over campus and in town and every place, and we called it off.
Yeah, yeah. Then you want to go back to Nuremberg?
Did I?
Yeah.
Did I want to?
Yeah.
No. By that time, I had a job
Okay.
in the advertising business, which I found pretty fascinating. And
Sure. Fascinating. What was Betty's impression of Telford Taylor? Do you remember her talking about him?
oh, she liked him very much. He was a good guy.
Was he married at the time, do you recall? He had a couple wives in his career.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, that's curious. Is he had a pretty high position at the trial.
Yes. Would he be right under Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does your paths ever cross his at all? Did you recall ever seeing him? Or?
Jackson?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. It's possible, I suppose, we could have been at a cocktail party at
Yeah.
the same time, but
On those parties, do you recall where there be mixed parties with the English and the French?
some,
Yeah.
yes.
What were they like? The guys, were they polite and nice, or
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the Russians?
The one thing I heard was don't ever go to a Russian party because he will toast you and you drink, and then he will toast you and you drink, and he will toast you and you drink. And they've each had one and you've had three. So beware. Be very careful. Speaking of drinking, I can remember, I don't know who she was with, but Betty came home one night and she's dropping articles of clothing all across the room. And she said before she flopped into bed, "Don't ever drink Dutch gin." I don't know what Dutch gin is, but I can hear her saying that.
Yeah. Well, it must have been kind of exciting to have this international.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
So that the day-to-day routine was.
One other name I just remembered, Francis Biddle.
Oh yeah, Justice Biddle.
He was there. I guess he liked to dress up because all my memory of him was he had patent leather pumps
Really.
like that you would wear to a formal.
Mm-hmm.
with a tuxedo. I don't know. I guess that.
Yeah.
I remember patent leather pumps.
And Francis Biddle. He was from Philadelphia, well, kind of a mainline, you know.
The Biddle family.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And that was his reputation.
Yeah.
So that's consistent.
Have you come across a man from Detroit here who was married, and I think his wife was there with him? Do you recall? And he was certainly not one of the top echelon, one of the lower level attorneys.
No. If he was on Drexel, when did he, he's not still alive, is he?
Oh, I doubt it.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Because I know going through Drexel's address list, I paid close attention to places I travel, like Detroit.
Sure.
There was a guy in Ann Arbor who was who wrote for Stars and Stripes, Alan Dreyfus.
Oh,
As you got there the first day at Nuremberg and you saw the city landscape, what was your impressions of the city itself?
devastated. The walled city.
Right.
It was terrible.
By the way, what was the time frame when you arrived there? Do you recall? Was it 1945?
Yeah, probably.
Trial started in November of 45 when they had the opening statement. Would you have been there?
No, I think the trial had already started, was in progress.
Okay.
So it must have been 46, because I think I went in March.
Okay. But the city itself, as again, you would close your eyes and see the landscape. It was
You know, bricks and mortar, and some place had been bombed, and the train station, as I recall, was across from the Grand Hotel, wasn't it? The Bahnhof.
yeah.
I think that had been repaired.
Mhm.
And as I said, the Grand Hotel was under construction, reconstruction, being fixed up. The lower level, the lobby level, was pretty good, but it was the upper part that they were working on.
Did you, was there streetcars then? Was streetcars running?
No,
Just
no.
kind of buses?
We had these shuttle buses that transported us.
What'd you do if you got caught and you weren't able to get there? Stayed a little bit too long at the Grand Hotel? Or
I think there were taxis we could have taken.
yeah,
Fortunately, it never happened.
yeah. So there was at least some form of transportation
Yes,
system.
yeah.
How about your news? How did you get news from the States? Did you get
I guess just letters from home.
was not newspapers that you recall?
I don't know, with the Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, that may have been your
Yeah.
source. Did you write back and forth at home quite a bit?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Was everybody curious about what was going on at the trial? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was only my parents.
Right.
I'm an only child. I have no siblings.
Gotcha.
So I only wrote to them, and they wrote back, of course.
Was there any sense that you were in the middle of some history?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Even to this day, I have people point at me and say, you know, she was in Nuremberg.
Really?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So they give you celebrity status too.
Yeah. Like a church,
Yeah.
you know, or if I meet somebody new eventually. Of course, when Fred used to take me back before we were married, we'd go back to Buffalo and he'd introduce me to his friends. That was an opening.
How interesting. That was, well, that distinguished you.
Yeah, yeah. But now it seems like another life, another world.
Though what is interesting is with the new war crimes trials going on throughout the world, Rwanda, Cambodia, they all harken back to the first one, Nuremberg.
Nuremberg, yeah.
So now that term Nuremberg has a distinctive, and now there are documentaries. There's a lot more interest.
Movies,
The
yeah.
one with Alec Baldwin. I don't know if you saw that on Nuremberg, where
I don't know.
Alec Baldwin played Jackson.
Okay.
So if you ever get to movies from the Blockbuster or something, ask for Nuremberg.
I'll do that, yeah.
Really good movie.
Yeah. It must be fairly recent because Alec is a relatively young man.
Yeah, this was an adult specifically with the trial you were there at. Judgment at Nuremberg, the Spencer Tracy movie, really dealt with one of the subsequent trials against the judges.
Okay.
It took me a long time to figure this all out. Because everybody asks, was Spencer Tracy Robert Jackson? And that's the question you always get.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is that movie, Judgment at Nuremberg, 1961, was a depiction of one of the 12 subsequent trials that Betty was probably part of. She stayed there.
Yes, she did.
And Telford was the chief prosecuting officer of those 12 trials.
Okay.
So Jackson was the first one. That's Goering and Ribbentrop and those guys.
Yes.
And then Jackson came back to the Supreme Court. And Telford stayed for 12 trials.
Succeeded him.
Right? And one of those 12 was the judge's trial. And it was that trial, which is depicted in the movie Judgment at Nuremberg.
Okay.
That's just part of that interesting history of what went on. So, and Betty stayed there. And Betty stayed for those, as I
Yes.
mentioned that.
Yes. 2.5 years.
Yeah, that's about as long as it took.
Yeah.
Did she continue to work for Telford?
I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you stay in touch with her while she was there?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. In fact, I was her agent here in Detroit. She was a Catholic girl and had a large family. And anytime that somebody needed something and she knew about it, I'd take care of it. Like at Christmas time, I'd buy gifts for all her sisters and brothers and their families.
You were good. You were a good woman.
I was well rewarded. When we go out, you'll see some of the things that she sent. She stayed in the service and lived all over the world. Rome, Nairobi, Bangkok.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And she was from Detroit.
Well, Wisconsin originally.
Okay.
But many of the kids had come to Detroit.
Sure.
So she lived here.
As your days, you sit back and people ask you about Nuremberg, what's the question they ask you the most?
Did you see the defendants, or
Mm-hmm.
what was life like?
Right. It's funny what a curiosity people have even to this day of the defendants.
Yes.
Goering's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everybody had an impression of just seeing him. Because you're one of a few folks who actually saw him.
Right. Andrus, Colonel Andrus?
Burton Anders, yes.
Yeah. He was in charge of the prison.
Correct.
Yeah. And the guy that I was engaged to worked there also,
Right.
under Andrus. Yeah.
So he was a prison guard.
Yes.
What do you think of the prisoners? Here.
I'm not sure we ever discussed them.
Yeah.
I mean, that, as I said before, that was after hours.
Yeah.
We were having fun.
Yeah.
Dancing up a storm. He was a good dancer.
Yeah.
Oh boy, he was a good dancer.
And those dances were at the Grand Hotel?
Yes, marble room.
Now, was that the only real social setting in Nuremberg?
Well, eventually I think they opened like an opera house. I saw my first opera, Aida, there.
Okay.
Outside of that, I don't remember any other activities.
Were there restaurants opened around the city?
If there were, we didn't go to them.
Was there much fraternizing with the Germans?
No. Social?
Social, yeah.
No, no.
So you would just see them more as waiters and waitresses?
Yes, bus drivers.
Mhm.
Lovely, lovely lady in my office. Well educated. I would assume, looking back on it, I would assume she was a translator. She was married and had a son, a little boy, maybe 8, 10 years old. And when I could, I would give her a bar of soap, tube of toothpaste, anything that maybe coffee if I could get that. When I left, when I told her I was coming back home, she gave me a necklace, which I still have and still wear and get compliments on. She was such a nice lady.
Are you often asked to, you could give any speeches at churches or anything like that? Have you
No.
ever- Any
No,
reflections like that?
no,
Did you ever go back to Drexel's reunions?
no. Mm-mm.
He did it for a few years.
Once Betty and I went to Washington, and it was mostly because of her, because I really didn't know the people. I wish I could remember some names. I remember we went to a wonderful restaurant in Washington, and everybody ordered lobster. And I was too embarrassed to order lobster because I didn't know how to tackle it, how to eat it.
I'm not sure I know now today how to do it.
Well, yeah, but you try.
Sure.
And I think I ordered salmon or something because I figured that was easier.
Was that, were you there because of a reunion, or were you there just?
It was just a little, reunion, I guess you could call it that, yeah. And those are mostly Betty's friends. I didn't really recognize some of the names, but
Were there other people you kept in touch with at all, other than Betty from Nuremberg?
there was one gal from Grand Rapids,
Mm-hmm.
Helen Ann Richardson. There was a gal who was in the military, Mina Jenkins, I used to correspond with. But that's about all.
Is there a legacy to your experience of going to Nuremberg where you said, gee, this had some change in my life, positive or negative? Got engaged, obviously.
And broke it.
Broke it, yeah. But as you look back at some of their skill sets or life experiences, did that 10 months have a positive or a negative experience for you?
Well, how could I answer that? I was exposed to so many things that normally I would not have been. In later years, my husband and I were fortunate enough to travel to Europe. But at that age, I probably would not have thought of it. I don't know how to answer that question.
While working in something which to me is not many people know that there even was an office for the benefit of the defense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't read about it. And so you were part of something which, like I say, has not had much literature on it. Within the defense office, was there any sort of empathy, any feelings towards your people you were trying to serve? Was there any conversation along those ways?
I don't recall that.
Yeah. Sort of just a job.
Yeah. And looking forward to the evening, the social aspects of the whole thing.
You're not the only one to have said that, right, Ed? The people who would come to the front desk or whoever would enter that defense office, were they Germans? I mean, did you?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Not somebody acting on their behalf. Some English guy who was a liaison person, or.
I don't think so. I would assume they were all Germans.
So they would make the ask, and somebody would. Did they speak English? The German?
Some. Broken English,
Right.
perhaps.
You got a sense of it.
Just as we got a sense of the German
Right.
language.
Right. Did you, as you sit here today, do you follow at all what's going on in that whole international law piece, or when there's a article in the paper about what happened 60 years ago? Does that interest you? Do you read at all about this?
You mean concerning Nuremberg?
Yeah.
It would attract my attention, I'm sure.
Yeah. I know, but I will send you, we got a couple, I don't know why I didn't think about it, but we've got some stuff I'll just send to you from the Jackson Center.
Okay.
Sort of historically interesting and stuff, thank you. But I'll make sure that happens. It has certainly come into forefront more and more in the last 4 or 5 years than probably a long period of time, just because of Milosevic, Hussein, trials, people trying to figure
Yes.
out how do we try these people. And then Nuremberg really was the first time anybody had been held personally accountable.
Responsible.
And that's a first. And you were there, you were part of that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of neat.
Well, as I said, it seems like another world,
Yeah.
another life.
But
I just read in the paper this morning, there's what's his name, Demchek?
out of Cleveland.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. His deportation has been postponed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was big news a few weeks ago that Germany was willing to take him.
Yes, yeah. But he would be facing a trial
Mhm.
if he went back.
Right.
Yeah.
So they postponed
The deportation.
okay.
Yeah.
Because
It was
of
just
health.
a little teeny tiny thing in the paper.
The guy who's intimately involved in the Justice Department on that case is a good friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
So I'm keeping very close tabs
Yes.
on that. So that's new news.
Yeah.
If he gets to Germany, it definitely will be the last Holocaust trial.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's just time has run out.
Yeah.
Nobody ever
All over.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to get the paper and take a look at that.
Yeah.
See a scoop. I'm glad I came over here today. I didn't realize going to the Final Four I'd learn about that, you know.
Yes, yes.
Who's your favorite today? Who's your favorite? Is your turn on the TV tonight and Michigan State?
State.
Yeah,
Yeah. I do not follow sports.
right.
I'm always interested in the final score,
Mhm.
whether the Red Wings won or Tigers, Lions, yes.
You don't have to worry about them winning, you know.
No.
Well, this has been great. I feel like, is there a question I should be asking you about your experiences?
I probably wouldn't know the answer.
Well, it sounds like you were, it was an incredible opportunity. And
Absolutely.
to your credit for taking use the term chutzpah, to even think about applying for the job, taking the civil service test, seeking the world of which you knew not, you didn't know what you were going to be exposed to.
No.
So you
And I did it all on my own. Nobody knew about it. My parents didn't know that I had done that.
So at some point you passed the civil service test and say, Mom, guess what? I'm on my way to Frankfurt. What'd they say?
Ah.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're going to Europe? But for the reason I said to you, a man can work his way around the world and a woman couldn't.
Right. I mean, that's just terrific that you took the
Initiative.
yeah.
And when Betty was stationed in Rome, I did the same thing. I wrote to her and said, what would you think about me flying over? And she said, hey, come, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I just quietly started saving my money, and it took a lot of money in those days.
Mm-hmm.
And I flew to Rome. I didn't tell anybody about it until I was ready to leave. Had a ball. Cried the morning that I had to come home.
Did you really?
Oh, we had a wonderful time.
2 girls on a mission.
Well, and she had a big circle of friends.
Right.
And I took the train down to Naples and caught the ferry to Capri
Wow.
on my own, all alone. But on the ferry, there were, I think, 3 fellows from the SS Constitution,
Mm.
which was an ocean-going
Right.
liner. And, of course, we started talking, being Americans. And they said, where are you staying? And I said, I don't know. I don't have a reservation. So if you've ever been to Capri, you come in and then you have to go up to the town,
Mm-hmm.
the funicular. And they said, well, come on, we'll all go together. We finally ended up at a hotel, and the man at the desk couldn't understand why I wanted my own room. I mean, I've got 3 men here, but I needed my own room.
Yeah.
But we had a good time for 2 or 3 days.
Terrific.
Yeah,
It's an intrepid spirit you have here.
used to. I recently had hip replacement surgery, so I've sworn off traveling.
Well, you probably can't dance exactly the same you did at the
Oh.
Grand Hotel.
I watched that program, Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
I could do that.
It sounds like
I could have done that. No more.
wow, what neat memories. Well, this has been great.
Do you have a
I
card?
do.
Yes. Well, I'm thinking of it. I'd like to have that.
Sure, absolutely.
Phelps Lytell.
Phillips Lytle's the name of the law firm.
Okay.
I'm out of the Jamestown office, but we have a big presence in Buffalo.
Thank you.
Do you have access to that one picture? Is the Nuremberg picture?
Oh, it's buried
Okay,
someplace.
that's-
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I should have thought of it and dug it out, but
No, I just thought of it while we're here. Because I love talking to folks who've been part of that world, because clearly we were not.
and you're very easy to talk to.
No, thank you. But it was a life of which, like yours, many of the people who were there, 1, it was exciting. 2, it was a job. 3, everybody was single
Mm-hmm.
and young.
Yeah.
I mean, some people get to say, well, I'm here because I want to talk about the Nuremberg trial. And they say, well, yeah, and unless you happen to have been there one of the marquee days, the opening statement, the closing statement, Hermann Goering cross-examination,
Yes.
it was boring.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Just dragged on.
other than looking over at the dock and see the defendants,
Mm-hmm.
so at least you had some visual contact and could say, just like you said, I could tell somebody that I actually saw them.
Yes.
Um,
And have proof.
yeah, and you have proof, my gosh.
Yeah.
Short of getting their autographs, there was... In fact,
Yes.
I would have been curious to ask your fiance if that was something he tried to do. A lot of guards, just to pass the time, tried to get autographs from these guys.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because every once in a while you'll see on eBay or some auction,
Oh,
uh,
authentic.
guard gotten autographs, And everybody used to sign somewhat reluctantly except Hess. Rudolph Hess wouldn't sign.
Well, he was a little,
Exactly.
or was he?
Yeah, well, isn't that one of the great mysteries of
Yes.
the Nuremberg trial?
Yeah. Dumb like a fox, huh?
Well, some would say that. Jackson had a specific hearing just on Hess, with Hess in the courtroom alone.
Is that right?
And ultimately, Hess got up after listening, after his attorney was saying the guy's nuts, in essence, he can't stand trial. He stands up and very articulately says, I've been just fooling you guys, and I'm ready to stand trial.
Oh.
Blew away everybody. I mean, the judges, either he was being otherwise really dumb,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately it probably saved his life for being a little dumb, even though he got life imprisonment.
Yes, yes. And died of natural causes.
Well, that's the other mystery of Rudolph Hess. His throat had been, he didn't die of natural causes. They claim he committed suicide at age 92. Now, his son thought, how could anybody at age 92 commit suicide? You know, if he's in the Looney Tune, like you say, he just doesn't commit suicide. And then they had an investigation as to whether the British had garroted him. You know, and they still don't know.
Okay.
So, another mystery. So,
Okay.
Hess going to Scotland, that's mystery one. Mystery two,
Yeah.
was he insane during the trial? Mystery two. Mystery three is, how the hell did he die?
Uh-huh.
So the whole Rudolph, that's just one piece of the whole trial, is this Rudolph Hess story. And I've interviewed guys who were in the prison at Spandau. I've interviewed guys who were his attorney. In Germany, his attorney's still alive.
Do you speak German?
I do not, but this
Okay.
guy spoke English.
Okay.
In fact, it was fun because I brought a translator. I made arrangements to interview him. So I have a translator.
Sure.
I didn't know what I was getting into. And so I'm looking to the translator. I said, could you ask him how to get started, representing Hess? So the guy immediately comes to me and goes, you don't need him. We'll talk. Just give him here.
Oh, good.
And then as it turned out, the translator was helpful because sometimes the attorney would have a term he'd want to say
Oh,
in English. And he
couldn't
said,
find the,
couldn't find the right word.
Yeah.
He said, how do I say?
yeah.
So he actually worked for the attorney more than me. But that was fun.
When was that?
A couple years ago, I was in Nuremberg, and they had a conference. It was the 60th anniversary.
Okay.
And I would have never guessed this guy existed. But he was at the conference, so I grabbed him and spent 20 minutes with him. And that was amazing.
Sure.
Because there aren't many people still alive who were, at the trial, and certainly when it comes to attorneys,
Yes. Yeah.
very few.
Because here I was 21,
Yeah.
and they were obviously much older.
I
But-
interviewed everybody who, over the 8 years I've been kind of doing this, I think there's only 2 still alive.
Now, is this like a hobby for you, or?
Well, yeah, ultimately it'll end up in the Jackson Center.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a hobby.
Okay.
I'm not going to do a documentary, but after a while you sort of get a, I've done like about 100 of these, and you get a story. I mean, there really is a story if somebody
It's like
wanted
a jigsaw puzzle that
Exactly.
you're finding all the different pieces.
Yeah, and you're part of it. I mean, you're now
Yeah.
something nobody knows about.
My 15 minutes of fame.
Well, I'm telling you this. An attorney in Germany who was doing some research on the attorneys who represented the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's ever really written about those guys.
Okay.
Everybody's written about the American, the French, the British, the Russians, but what about these guys who were German attorneys?
Yeah. Where did they come
Where
from?
did they come from? What's their story?
Yeah.
So they've been working on that. And he called me out of the blue one day and asked if I knew much about that. I said, no.
Now, is he an American?
He's a German.
A German?
Speaks incredible English. He was educated at Oxford, and
Oh,
when you talk to him, he's more English than...
a British, yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
gosh, it's just amazing. British, yeah. Anyways, he was asking me, and I said, But I said, you know, there's a lady in Detroit who was part of that. American-created office for the benefit of the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read anything about this? This is the guy doing research. He goes, no. I said, well, I hopefully get a chance to talk to her sometime about that one piece of the trial.
Mm-hmm.
So you're...
Here we are.
So someday you may get a call from a guy named Christoph Safferling from Germany. Wonderful guy. But that's his piece of the world.
Okay.
And it'd be great because to this date I know of nobody who's written about it.
Yeah. As you are doing here, he's doing his thing over there.
Germany, yeah.
Yeah.
He's running around. They're all dead, the attorneys. But
Sure.
maybe the staffers, maybe the secretaries who work for the German attorneys are alive.
Right.
Probably some of them are
Tracked down.
tracked down. So it's a research.
Yeah.
For me, it was helpful because Drexel gave me his mailing list. Otherwise, who would have? Nobody would.
Where would you start?
You couldn't.
Yeah.
But somebody who's a friend of Drexel's, God bless whoever that person is or was, she made an address list of people found and deceased, and people unknown.
Okay.
And that was her categories. And so I literally, over the last 8 years, have sort of got on internet and
Check them off.
tracked a lot of them down, and you know, some have passed away, some I don't know where they are, but some are, I'll have phone interviews, or if I...
Great.
And so, yeah, for me it's heartening, and for you, congratulations for having been there, and thank you for taking time.
Well, it's my pleasure.